Speaker James Freeman here from the Wall Street Journal. You know, it's funny. We obviously normally think of Donald Trump as the undisciplined amateur, and yet you've seen lately with Hillary Clinton, her campaign seems to acknowledge she needs a message other than Trump is terrible. And yet she keeps going back to that over and over. So I'm wondering, when you're watching this, is she undisciplined? Are they out of ideas? Or is this kind of a schizophrenia in the campaign? What's your diagnosis? Look, obviously, you're for Trump, but I'm just wondering, as you're watching this from the Clinton camp.
Look, I've known Hillary since 1993 when she came up to the Hill to talk to us about what was then called Hillary Care, her first great failure at national policy. She has to be going crazy because she wakes up in the morning and there's a new story about her emails. There's a new editorial about the dishonesty. She is being sunk into quicksand of her own making. And she wanted to run as this obvious, reassuring, natural leader with all of these credentials. And what's happening to her is she's just getting chewed up. And I suspect, personally, that it is just driving her nuts. And I think you see that beginning to manifest now. I think the debate's going to be fascinating. I have no idea who will win. Yeah. I think Trump is the best natural debater I have seen, with the possible exception of Ronald Reagan. And he understands television, which is he can make 11 tiny mistakes, which the New York Times will put on a page-one story. Nobody in America who cares is going to pay attention. Yeah, if he feels good, and he's also raising a big point. Let me just say briefly, because of 9/11, the anniversary. I'm doing a piece today for Fox News basically saying we've had 15 years of failure. And that's the thing Trump is hitting at. Hillary represents a bipartisan establishment whose campaign strategies in the Middle East have failed. And they have failed so badly it's humiliating when you send $1 billion in cash to Iran. That's the face of failure. And so the country's got to decide. 4 more years of failure with Clinton, or let's have the guts to rethink the whole thing with Trump. That's a really broad choice. Yeah, $1 billion or two. 1.7 billion is what we're talking about, and no one knew when this money went and why it went, and it was all cash. That's the most extraordinary story, really, Newt. Let me ask you that. Yeah, go ahead, real quick. But the one thing, which is, go back, as I'm going to do in my article today, go back and look at Bush's speech to the joint session in 2001, shortly after 9/11, where he talks about the axis of evil. The idea, if you had said in 2001, we're going to fail so badly that we're going to send cash as though it was a drug deal. We're going to send cash to the dictatorship that is the lead, according to our own State Department, is the leading supporter of terrorism on the planet. Yep. Nobody would have thought that was possible, that the U.S. could have failed that decisively in 15 years. It's absolutely extraordinary, and, you know, Dagan and I say it a lot on this program, thankfully for the Wall Street Journal, who did original reporting and broke that story, because not even Congress understood how that money was transferred. Let me ask you this, Newt, because Trump is often compared to President Reagan, and yesterday Hillary Clinton did it again, and so did Trump's running mate, Governor Mike Pence. Listen to this.
What would Ronald Reagan say about a Republican nominee who attacks America's generals and heaps praise on Russia's president? I think we know the answer.
America's choice has never been clearer, I believe. The most straight-talking candidate since Ronald Reagan is running against one of the most dishonest candidates ever.
You know, the Dems have been very effective at putting Trump in this whole Russia story, when in fact it was Hillary Clinton that has the real dealings with Russia, whether it be, you know, the hundreds of millions of dollars her foundation got, or the hundreds of thousands of dollars Bill Clinton got for speeches after she sold 25% of the U.S.'s uranium, the stuff that makes a nuclear bomb.
You know, I campaigned with Reagan in the 70s. I worked with Reagan as president. Krista and I did a movie on Reagan called Rendezvous with Destiny. I think I have a pretty good sense of Ronald Reagan. Reagan would look at do you remember the original reset button was actually the button for a whirlpool bath in the hotel Hillary was staying in. She thought she would be clever, The interpreter painted the wrong word. He was supposed to paint reset. He painted the word overcharge. The Russian foreign minister looked at this goofy button, turned to her and said, "No, we're not going to let you overcharge us." I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. She is the most clueless, clumsy person to reach this level of national power, certainly in my lifetime, and it is astonishing. So first of all, what Trump is trying to say is something pretty profound, which is if you measure effectiveness, Putin has been an effective leader achieving the goals he has set. Not do you admire him, not do you think he's a nice guy. Remember, George W. Bush looked into his eyes and saw his soul.
That's right.
I always thought, given that he was trained by the KGB, that it was highly unlikely that you would find Putin's soul if you looked into his eyes.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we've been through this dance. The difference is this. Donald Trump, and by the way, the news media effort to say he went on Russian propaganda television, he was doing Larry King.
Yeah, it was Larry King. I know.
You can't be more American than Larry King, for Pete's sake.
Right.
I'm confident that the Trump people didn't say, "Oh yeah, what a great chance to do Russian propaganda. Let's call Larry up."